Welcome to You Can't Handle the Truth, where we dive into the real, raw truths about health, wellness, and self-growth. I am your real talk guru and your rebel healer, here to cut through the noise and dig deep into mental, physical, and spiritual health, uncovering the truths many aren't ready to confront. We're going to do that together. Hello, and welcome to You Can't Handle the Truth with me, Natalie. And today, we are really going to talk about a truth that many of us don't want to talk about, right? Childless women planning for later in life. Is it different if you're childless and planning later in life? Let's talk about it. Because I think this is a true concern for many, right? Because those of us with children, even though we don't necessarily intend for our children to have to care for us in our old age, but for those without children, it's just not an option because they don't have any. And that's by choice. There's nothing wrong with that. But the truth of the matter is then, how do you plan for your old age? So let's get into it. All right, let's go, ladies. So this was a really interesting topic for me because my mother, who was one of 8 children, cared for my grandmother as she got older. She initially had a stroke and moved in with my mom. I think she was in her 60s. And my mom had to move away, and then she lived with me for about 10 years. And she was still mobile, but it was a lot of work because I had, I understand the effort it takes to put in to take care of an elderly parent. I mean, this was my grandmother, but to take care of an elderly parent while you're raising your own kids. And especially when that elderly parent is a little bit needy, like they're counting on you, because in the older generation, that's the way it was, right? Like the plan was that their kids would take care of them. And today, not so much, because we're spread out all over the place. The economics are so much different that I can't even start to think about how my kids would take care of me, would be able to take care of me and still survive. And so I'm going to share some stories from, I'm going to share this question with you that this Rebelette asked, and I'm going to share some of the responses. But before I do, I want you to drop me a comment down below and let me know what your experience is. Do you have children? Do you not have children? And how do you plan? Either way, how are you planning for that? How are you planning for your not retirement, but your old age? What are you planning to do? Are you planning to go to a nursing home? Are you planning to hire someone? And all of this takes money, right? A lot of this takes money. And I was watching, I think it was on the news. There was a newscast or a news show or something, and I don't remember what it was. And they were talking on there about how people are now moving to other countries to retire. And part of it, I think, is the economics, the cost of living here in the United States, but probably it could be also the cost of care, right? After you've worked here your whole life, to imagine that you are left with no funds to take care of yourself. You don't have enough because either you've depleted yourself and your funds to take care of your elderly parents and while you had kids, and now your health is also declining. So we're going to unpack a lot here, right? This is a really, this topic and this conversation today is really intense because it's something this is a truth that we all will experience, but we don't like to talk about it because we don't see ourselves there, right? And before I go any further, also want to share that I also watched an influencer who was talking about retirement planning, but I think this applies to everyone, right? It is about this. What I'm going to tell you is about retirement planning. What I'm going to tell you is about retirement planning. There's like this pie chart, right? It's not, I don't know if it's a pie chart, bar chart, whatever. And you have different stages of life, right? And stage one is the stage where, in each stage of life, there's something that you don't have enough of. The first stage of life, you don't have enough money. That stage goes from from when you're born to 30, right? So there's never enough money. You don't feel like you have enough money to do the things you want to do. So you're spending all your time, you're hustling and doing everything. The stage two is you don't have enough time, right? Because now you've acclimated yourself to hustling and spending all your time working, right? So all the things you want to do, you can't do because you're having to go to work, and maybe you're working overtime or 2 jobs or 3 jobs, and you're taking care of parents, you're taking care of your kids. You don't even have time to take care of yourself because you have so many responsibilities. And that stage goes from about 30 to 50. So that's about 20 years, let's say. Now, once you hit 50, like let's say 20 to 60, let's give it 30 years, right? You spend hustling like this, 30 to 60. By the time you hit 60, guess what? You don't have enough of. You start not to have enough of. You start not to have enough health. And you'll see, like, I have a self-care challenge that I've started on all my channels. It doesn't matter. I have 3 YouTube channels, and I've started one on all of my channels for the next 30 days because there's like this in-between stage, right? Where in between the not enough time and not enough health, right? And that stage is probably from 50 to 70, where you have to make a choice to make time to take care of your health so that you can increase the health that you have at the end of your time, if that makes sense. And so many of you here watching me, that's where you're at. Like, you have a choice to make. You have a choice to make of whether or not you're going to keep hustling until you just don't have enough health, right, to really do anything, or you're going to start taking time to do some self-care things. And I think that stage between between that in-between stage, between the health and the enough health and enough time, is the time where all the things that you're saying, I don't have enough time to travel. I don't have enough time to think about that dream home that I want. I don't have enough, where you just start making enough time. And you start switching the mindset. And it's somebody that has always wanted to rock climb, right? I think that was an example that I heard, and I thought it made perfect sense. If you want to rock climb, right, between 50 and 70, you probably can still do it. You have enough strength, you can get your health in order, and you can still do it. Do you think at 80 you're going to be able to go rock climb, or will that time have passed you? That time will be over. It'll be done. No more rock climbing at 80. There's a natural decline. No matter how much you do, there's going to be a natural decline, and there's going to be a time where it's already an activity that's not safe, but it becomes unsafer because mobility and your balance is just not what it used to be. And that's just part of getting older. So do you take this time that you're spending on work talking about you don't have enough time for all the things you want to do, and start shifting and moving that time to the things that you want to do. Think about that for a minute. Okay, um let's get into our topic. As you think about that, let's get into our topic. Let's see what this Rebelette had to say, what her question was, and let's see how that resonates with you. Drop me a comment and let me know how this resonates with you. Okay, so those of you who are childless and have somewhat an idea of who will help you when you're elderly, what are your plans? Isn't long-term care expensive? What do you plan to do if you're elderly but not rich? I'm interested in ideas that are big picture, long-term care insurance, but also more specific, who will help you with technology questions, driving, daily tasks, etc. And I guess she made an edit on her question, and I guess a lot of the responses she gets which we're going to talk about, are about people responding to her that having children is not a guarantee. There's no guarantee that they will take care of you. This is, and she says this is not a question about that or about retirement savings. We all know that we need to save, right? But this was an honest question about practical plans for help, living space once you're elderly, right? Because we all know, and if anybody out there is a nurse like me, you know, you've been into those homes where you start to look at your patients and you're just like, and they're living on their own, and you're looking and you're like, where's the family? Is this safe? Are they able to maintain? Are they able to take their meds safely? You know, I've walked into homes where the medications were just like, I didn't know what was what. It was just like all over the table. They weren't even in the bottles. And there's there's some confusion that starts to set in. And, you know, it's one of those things that if we're fortunate to watch someone grow old and keep their faculties, that's truly a blessing. But we keep even if you keep your faculties and you're aware and alert and oriented, you are still physically declining. You might still be, and plenty of 90-year-olds can get around, right? They can walk, but driving might not be safe. Their reflexes are not the same. So do you understand the question that this woman is asking? What is your practical plan if you don't have family, if you don't have kids that will come see you? And, you know, I've worked in plenty of nursing homes where the people are there and the family does not come to see them. They never have visitors. Or they get visitors like once a year. Somebody will come twice a year. And I'm not throwing shade, because I understand, you know, maybe back then I didn't understand, because there was this idea that we all live close to each other and we can just like get off work, come and visit. But that's not the case anymore. We're all spread out. My children and I, we don't even live in the same state. We live, you know, about 1,000 miles apart from each other, at least. And that's a big distance, right? It's not like a hop, skip, and a jump and they can come see me as I'm getting older. So what is the plan? All right. So I just want to make sure we understand the question, because there were, since she mentioned that this is not a debate about about whether having children is no guarantee that they'll take care of you. We all know that. And by the way, I think as we all get older, if you do have children and you've watched your parents take care of their parents, you don't even want to put that burden on them. But how are we going to manage either way, right? And let's take a look. Let's talk about it. Let's see what some of the responses are. Someone says, I have no plans, no saving. I honestly don't know what I will do. That's such an honest answer. And I think, how many of you out there are that person? I have no plans, no savings. I honestly don't know what I'll do. Drop me a comment. Drop me a 1 in there if that's you, in the comments, and let me know if that's you. And And maybe my hope is that after going through this, that maybe you'll have some ideas if you don't have any ideas. Okay. And wow. I'm in the process. Someone says I'm in the process of getting my very first passport right now at 45, ready to get off this continent, North America, and see the world. Exactly. She's 45. This is the time. If you guys don't have, I'm telling you, and I have traveled, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to look it up for you right now. What percentage of Americans don't have passports? Let's look up. 52% of Americans do not have passport. Adults 30 are more likely than older Americans to have current U.S. passport, 53%. And if the 64-year-olds, 33%. You know, so what does that tell you? That means that, as to me, that says, like, as we get older, right? They're not, maybe they had a passport. Like when I say you have a passport, you have a current passport that you can travel on, because your passport is only good for 10 years. So that means that as people start to get older, they don't have the funds, and maybe they don't have the health to travel on. Remember, I talked about that balance between having time and having health. But if you don't take care of your health now, by the time you start to get later and later, you don't have the health, and then you can't travel. So anyway, I digress. So let's go back to what they were saying. So someone says, I currently live in Vietnam. Japan is a must, and I currently live in Vietnam. And take a month, 2 weeks in Japan, a week each in Vietnam and Malaysia. DM me if you want some tips. Yeah. I mean, something to consider, but that's still, the answer is good. I think it's something you want to consider, but I don't think that answer doesn't answer what you will do at the end of life. Maybe when you go to these places, maybe you'll decide you want to move there. Maybe you'll decide that there's a way of life that is not this North American hustle and bustle way of life. And you might find that your retirement dollars may take you longer, may buy you health care, may buy you someone to take care of you if you don't have anyone else to take care of you, right? So, and my thought is, while thinking about this, is that, hey, well, you can do it here in North America and be broke, right? And not be able to have anyone to take care of you, and end up in a nursing home somewhere that's state managed, that where you're not getting good care. Or you could take your money and not have anyone to come see you, right? Because at this point, you don't have any family. No one's coming to see you. And so, or you could take your money and move alone and go get to know another country now, move to that country, still be alone, right? But not alone, and have them be able to afford the care that you need. I'm just saying, these are just some options that, it's a different way of looking at things, and it's not something we want to talk about. I don't think most people grow up here in the US and think, I'm thinking about leaving the US. But as you get older and you're realizing that the cost of living and the economics here does not support you, as you get older, you have to make some real choices. This is when it gets real. These are the truths that we have to handle, that we don't want to handle. Okay, so someone says, I work in the senior care industry. Okay. So long-term care insurance is not a good deal for the insured. In simple terms, best case scenario is it pays out less than what you would make investing the money you pay into it in an index fund or in your primary residence. Think about that. you guys stay with me, and I have something I want to share with you at the end. Stay with me till the end. I promise you, you won't regret it. I have something that I want each and every one of you to look into as far as your financial affairs, because that's insane to me that the long-term care pays out less than what you would make investing the money you would pay into it in an index fund. So don't buy basically they're saying don't buy, she's saying, she works in the senior care industry, right? Don't buy long-term care insurance. Invest in it, find some way, figure out, invest that money that you were going to pay on that long-term care insurance into an index fund, and you'll have more of a payout at the end. And maybe be able to use it when you move to Japan. Just kidding. I know all of us are not moving, but I'm just saying. Okay, it used to be a good deal when it was actual insurance a long time ago, before the actuaries caught on to how long people live now. But now it's just an overpriced investment service. The last of the people for whom it was a good deal are currently in their late 70s. And you know they are getting a good deal because insurance companies are constantly badgering them into taking a lump sum payment instead of continuing to be insured. The insurance industry, oh gosh. You know, I just did a video on the insurance industry, and I'm actually getting ready to do another one. And it's just so sad, like the way that they take advantage of people. Like, you think you're getting a good deal, but it's a bum deal. You know, you're better off making your own investments. All right, next. And you see, what I want you to see, and I know we haven't talked about what really people are going to do. Yeah, like what are the actual things that they're going to do? This topic brings up it probably triggers that you to think about, how financially secure are you really? Can you really afford it? Right? You're working now. Are you going to be working when you're 70 or 80? I know some people work into their 70s and 80s, but if you're doing like construction work, if you're a construction worker, are you going to be able to do construction work into your 80s and get that money? You know what I'm saying? So like it's things to think about. It's these transitions that we have to think about. All right. So next is, someone says that's child free. I'm not less anything. Okay, because she said childless. Yeah, exactly. It's not. You know what? I'm not even going to go into that comment. Someone's just upset that someone used child free instead of childless, and I think it kind of defeats the point. The point is that you don't have anyone to. No one's trying to judge anyone for not having children. That's everyone's right, and some people had kids and didn't even want them. So let's not, right? Let's not do that right now. This topic is seriously about what are you going to do when you retire? So what are you going to do when you get older? How are you going to take care of yourself? Someone says, I'm 81. I have no family, but I have a family of chosen friends. My old age is here and I'm fine. I have total material security, own a brownstone in North Brooklyn with tenants, one of whom is my best friend. He's 20 years my junior. We take care of each other. I have room in my home should I need extra help. But so far, I'm healthy and independent. Well, I mean, this woman, you see, some of us, this is an interesting comment. If I need extra help, but so far I'm healthy and independent. Aging can be managed, especially if you don't have the financial burden of raising children and grandchildren. You know, this lady's 81, so she's from a different era. She's older than me. I'm 54, going on 55. So her burdens and the way she lived life was a little bit different. So if you're in your 80s and you're watching, so I think it's a little bit, I understand what she's saying, right? Because she created financial security for herself. But what we're running into is that if you're in your 50s, 40s, 50s, are you going to even be able to create? My dog is barking in the background. we even going to be able to create that type of financial security? So I think, as we just saw in the comment above us, that people in their 70s are getting a better deal on their long-term care insurance than I will ever get. I'm going to get a bum deal. So her comparing her assets to somebody else's assets, I think is a little unfair, but we are happy for you if you're in your 80s and this is your situation, because you deserve it. All right. So anyway, someone says, I have a child and I'm not presumptuous enough to expect them to take care of me. That's not their responsibility. It's a crappy reason to have kids. You know, I don't believe anyone starts off having kids thinking my kids are going to take care of me. But life situations dictate that we need care. And the next available person, the people closest to you that are probably still alive, are your children, right? And the truth is that sometimes children, like I said, they're not even close to you. They have their own children. They have their own life. They have their own health issues. And they're working and not even able to take care of themselves, right? So they may not even be close enough to help you. So, you know, I think I really feel like this is really a topic that affects every one of us, right? No one. I watched my mom run ragged at the end, my grandma's end of life. She couldn't take care. She had already done everything for that she could for her children, right? And and helping her grandchildren, right? And then she had her mom. Her husband passed away, and she couldn't take care of, like, how do you take care of yourself? And she that with 8 brothers and sisters, you would think that there would be, everyone could come in and help. And I'm not throwing shade out there. I'm just speaking reality. But some of them had their own health issues, had their spouses that had their own health issues, and they were not willing to take her in. Some of them were planning for their own retirement and had their own issues and were not willing to give up their financial security in their old age to secure her. It's a fear, because you see it, and you're going to see as we go through these comments. I'm going to go through a few more. I don't want this to go over an hour today. I think an hour is a bit much, but there's a lot to be said about this topic. Someone says she's a Gen Xer, like me. I know in this case, it's being asked specifically about women because this is an Ask Women sub. But I can't help noticing that I see variations on childless women. Do you regret it? Or childless women who will look after you when you're old. A dozen times a week, all over Reddit, all year round. And yet I can't think of even one time I've seen these questions asked of childless men. Who will care for the elderly is a societal question. It's an important problem and it affects everybody, but somehow it's only childless women who get asked. You know, she's right. Like, she's absolutely right. This is, like I said, this is not just a problem that we face as women. Men face this problem too. Well, how about the men that are not married, don't have children, their wives maybe passed away? Who's going to take care of them? Even if they have children, who's going to take care? Even if you have children, who's going to take care of you? It's a perfectly said by this Gen Xer. It's a societal question. Someone says, you are correct. It's faulty for society to assume kids take care of their ailing parents. Most don't have the bandwidth to do it. I'm caregiving my mom with dementia right now, and many children opt not to take this role on. It's not at all easy. It's fantasy to think your children will be your caregiver. People without children are in the same boat as no people without children are in the same boat as people who have children once they are an incapacitated person. And that's so true. You'll see it over and over again. Once the person becomes incapacitated, you're getting elderly, the kids are getting elderly, they're running through their stress. They don't have the bandwidth to take on anymore. So whether you're childless, whether you're a child not like you, whatever you chose not to have children, you have children, you don't have children, you still end up in the same situation. She goes on to say, maybe if you live in a country with great health care, but not here in the US, you have to give up your own needs in order to handle all that's required to take care of someone who can't take care of themselves. I quit my job and have no life. I plan to self-exit if I'm diagnosed with something requiring skilled nursing care. And there's no solution otherwise. Skilled nursing care is outrageously expensive. I can't even believe she just said that, but it is expensive. It is expensive. This childless woman is glad she won't, someone else, this is another person. This childless woman is glad she won't encumber someone in her family with her care. It often falls to females in the family and it affects their income, jobs, and their own retirement. I know this because I was a carer to an elderly parent for several years. I will end up working longer than I want to because my own retirement and income took a hit. It was stressful, and I basically had to give up my life and expectations to find a partner at the time. No child should be expected to do that, and a lot of children will choose not to assist as they have their own hectic lives to live. So everyone should have a backup plan. So my plan is to live as independently as possible, preferably with a partner. My partner may have kids. I will be stuffing away as much retirement money as possible and have now bought into the property market. Downsize my home and junk to be a minimalist. I will travel until I'm unable to do so. When I need help from care services, I will pay for them, but remain in my own home for as long as possible. When I can no longer care for myself, I will move into a nursing home that I have researched first. I will sell all my worldly goods, including the home, because I do not need it if moving into a nursing home. That is my plan. Think about that. What I found interesting about this comment was that she says it often falls to the females, and that's true because I can remember when my grandmother got ill. It's not like the men, the sons in the family, her sons were, my uncles were jumping to come get her, to take care of her. And that could be because it's cultural. We're from the Caribbean, but I think it's not just cultural. I just think it's the way it is. Like the women are expected to pick it up. And actually, if you're the oldest in the family, the burden usually, if you're the oldest woman in the family, the burden will fall on you. And which is ironic, right? Because you would think maybe the youngest one can do it because they're younger, right? But because the oldest child is probably also depending on the age difference between the children. And my grandmother had 8 children. So you would think that it would be clear that the oldest one is also stepping into the next stage of life and has issues. And it's not, and I'm not saying this to say that, one person's situation is easier because of their age, but this idea, it's just the idea. I now realize after seeing what happened with my grandmother, the idea that your children are going to take care of you is a fantasy. I mean, my mom did it, right? Until she couldn't anymore. There was a point that came where I I literally said to her, you have to put her in a nursing home. And she wasn't happy. Nobody was happy about that, right? Then everybody had something to say. But I could literally see my mom's health, her own health declining. And it's not like she was getting older. She's in her 70s. So her health is actually going to decline over time anyway. But to see her health decline because of all the stress was just terrible. Okay, someone says, I'm 65, would never subject my child 30 to caring for me as an old woman. I have already made plans for retirement center for 10 years down the road when I may be ready. I have paid the deposit. Loads of my faculty friends who retired have moved there already. It's a big, thriving community. Well, that's nice that she has that she has a community where she's decided. But this is intentional though. Are you guys hearing that? Like, this is this lady has made an intentional choice about what she's going to do already. And many of us don't want to talk about it. Right? Drop me a comment and let me know if, I've talked a lot already. What's going through your mind as you're hearing this. Someone else says, I'm a child-free woman who doesn't take care of her mother because my mother is an absolute whatever. She's definitely not going to have an easy time of it. This is someone who's mad at her mom. Because I didn't spend my life on kids, I'm actually in a much better position to afford care if I ever need it. Meanwhile, not having kids has also helped me to stay a lot healthier than my mom. So I'm hoping not to need a lot of care until the very end. Yeah, we can hope, right? But we don't know. So you never know. But ultimately, I won't know until I get there. Exactly. Having kids isn't an insurance policy. Of course it's not. We all know that's not an insurance policy. And you wouldn't want to have kids and make them your insurance policy because you never know what they're going to do. Everybody has their own mind. And who wants to put that burden on their kids? Someone says, why do you assume having children will help with any of these things? At 62, I know more about tech than most 30-year-olds. Oh, I guess she's referencing the fact that she said who's going to help them with like technology and things like that when they get older. It's true that we now know more about technology, but the thing is that technology is forever evolving. And so at some point you're going to have something that you don't know that you're going to need help with. So I think that it's still a legit question. This lady says, my best friend and I plan to live together. I live in an area with great social services for the elderly, and I hope I can persuade her to move here. We have great food services for seniors, medical rights, and massively discounted Uber. I mean, that's great that she's making that plan, but what happens if something happens to her friend before that time? And it sounds like she's still trying to persuade her friend to move there. I don't know. I don't know. I just think that, this is a choice. This is a decision that you're going to have to make for yourself. Because the truth of the matter is that, if you have a partner, you can do this with your partner, right? But at the same time, planning with a best friend is great, but at some point, somebody might not be there. So what is it that you want? How is it that you want to navigate this? Is what you're doing. So what happens if she convinces her friend to come and then something happens to her and now her friend is in this place? So her friend is going to have to decide, is this a place that she wants to be also, right? This is not something to be taken lightly. This is not like we're going on vacation together and we're going back home. Just saying. Someone says, I take care of an elderly parent. I would never do this to my child. I lift weights and exercise to avoid frailty. I am a voracious saver. At some point, I will put a plan together for myself, and a nursing home will not be part of it. You know, that's the thing. I lift weights and exercise to avoid frailty. Very, very important. I would say take vitamin D, D3, and K2 to help. Also because, and magnesium, because this is a time, like I said, I'm doing the self-care challenge right now. And because I realize this is a time that if we don't take care of our health, we don't get moving, if you don't, if it's, what is that saying? Move it or lose it, right? Muscle mass decreases every year. Bone density decreases every year because of lack of mobility, lack of care. We have to take care of ourselves. And there are things that you can do about that. But don't wait till you're sick. Don't wait till osteoporosis sets in to take care of it. And, you know, it's, some things are not, we can't avoid getting older, but we can decide how we age. True story. We're 45 minutes in, and let me see, maybe I'll find my plan. Someone says, my plan is to say, this is going to be the last comment, okay? And the last comment is, my plan is to stay in the best shape possible, eat right, and take care of myself as best as I can. I have Alexa, emergency. Oh my, that's okay. The last comment is that I'm going to read to you is, my plan is to stay in the best shape possible, eat right, and take care of myself as best as I can. I have Alexa, emergency assistance, and wear an Apple Watch. And I think this kind of assistive with this kind of a technology, we'll get even better in coming years. Plan on staying in my own home unless I get dementia or something. No one is going to be watching out for me, and that's okay. I will check in on my friends, and they will check in on me. If I have to downsize and live in a tiny house, that's cool. If I have to live off Social Security, and I can do that too. I will plant vegetables and have some chickens. I will be eccentric and whimsical and live with grace and humor until they find me all puffy in my house. Well, you know, I think that says it all. That says it all. We all get to decide how we look at end of life, right? We all get to decide how we navigate end of life. And so the thing is, you have to decide. You can't just wake up one day and think, you know, I don't have kids. Who's going to take care of me? Or I have kids. My kids should take care of me. No, decide. And the time to decide is now. Eat right. Stay in the best shape possible. You know, emergency assistive devices. Get to know the technology if you don't, so that you can use. And, you know, we can plan all we want, and things might change. And so what I say to that is, learn to be in the moment, learn to be in the now, learn to be happy with where you are and what you have, even if you end up in a nursing home, right? And that wasn't your plan. We can make the best of it. Even if whatever that is, whatever that is for you. You know, even if you never thought that you would be moving to another country, take some trips, get your passport active, take some trips, go visit some places, do some research, see where and why people are retiring in different places. And it's not to say that you have to leave the US, but why not? Many people do, and they live through the end of their life very, very, very well, right? And if you're going to be alone here, what difference does it really make whether you're alone here or you're alone in a different country. Now, be safe. I'm saying do your research. So I get it that going to a different country can sound a little bit scary, but I don't think it's any scarier than staying in a country where you've lived all your life and not being cared for. Well, I thank you for joining me today on You Can't Handle the Truth. Stay tuned for the next episode. I can't wait to bring you the next episode. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this topic. Let me know what went through your mind as we discuss this today. And let me know what you think about the topic. Let me know what went through your mind as we talked about this today. And until next time, you can't handle the truth. Thank you for joining me in this episode of You Can't Handle the Truth. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about this topic today. What went through your mind as we discussed this today. And you stay strong until the next one. I love you guys.